Eh. So it really has been 10 months, eh? Hey everyone, it's Mails Punnin. Welcome to a follow-up video of sorts. Around this time, actually, I believe roughly a month after the day this is going up. I could be wrong on that though. 10 months ago, I made my thoughts on Death Battle Season 5. As I'm a big fan of the show, and considering one season was ending and another was beginning, I wanted to get my thoughts out there on Death Battle. As that was the first Death Battle video I make, and this is my second one, well, now, but third in all. I keep thinking that it's been a year, but it hasn't. It's close, but no dice yet. So, as this is, I'm just going to be sharing my thoughts on each of the matchups of Death Battle Season 6. One of you already know I'm very passionate about, but the same rules as my last video on Death Battle do apply. I'm looking at the matchups, the fight itself, as I enjoy Death Battle, as like I said already in this video, I'm a fan of the show, and do I agree with the result? This isn't necessarily a top 10 where I'm ranking every Death Battle this season. Merely just what I thought of every battle. Anyway, let's start with the first fight. So the first fight of the season, and just like last time, still one of my favorites. If I were to make a favorite battles of the season, this would probably end up somewhere in my top 5. Aquaman versus Namor. I got pretty hyped when this was announced, as well. I'm not the biggest fan of Namor, and I don't know too much about him. Aquaman is in my top 3 favorite DC superheroes. Yeah. The only ones beating him currently are Blue Beetle and The Flash, one of which has already appeared in Death Battle. Now, thoughts on the matchup? It makes sense. I know why they're fighting each other. They're both Marvel and DC's main aquatic-based heroes. And, well, what did I think of the battle? I also did make a reaction video to this, but I don't recommend watching it, because in hindsight, since there's no face cam, it feels more like I'm just stealing Death Battle's video with a little bit of commentary over it. But anyway, Aquaman versus Namor, a good fight. I agree with Aquaman winning. No objections. One of the best fights of the whole season. But let's see what's up next. So our second battle here is the first Battle Royale that has been done in a long time. The Mega Man Battle Royale. Now, what do I think of it? I love this episode, as it's filled with, well, technically all different versions of one character that I really love. I'm a huge Mega Man fan, in case you guys didn't know that. There's not much to say. This fight was awesome, since everyone was just pulling up. Well, mainly Star Force, Mega Man, as he's who won. pulling off insane stunts throughout the entire battle. It was just really fun to watch. And I agree, the result as Star Force Mega Man is the most overpowered out of the Mega Men. So yeah, there's not much to say other than it was awesome. Next battle. So here we have Black Widow versus Widowmaker. Another one of my favorite fights. Yeah, I'll admit, Season 6 has got a lot of good. But, jeez. To be honest, though, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I get the matchup, even though I think Black Widow versus Black Canary makes a bit more sense. So I'm docking the matchup a little bit. And the fight, honestly, this is one little problem I have with If Death Battle. Is that since we have more so stealth-based characters, as Widowmaker's a sniper and Black Widow is, well, more made for stealth missions. It's not as exciting. I'm not saying that every death battle has to be a fist fight or anything. Or just everyone pulling off super powerful explosion attacks and that have 5 transformations. But when it gets between two more stealthy characters, I don't find it as interesting. Like I said, it's one of my favorite episodes of the season, so I'm not saying it's a bad episode. It's just, in terms of the fight, not my cup of tea, and I agree with the result. So, next up we have Captain Marvel vs. Shazam, which is yet another of my favorite death battles. And the reason why they did this is kinda obvious considering, well, not too long ago, Captain Marvel had her own movie, and now Shazam, at the time of this death battle, was getting his own movies. That's make sure they use the live action characters for the thumbnail, which I'm not taking a problem with. I'm just saying there's an obvious reason why they put them together. I know the matchup, so no issues with it. That was a pretty cool fight, all things considered. And I agree with the result. And I know this isn't really related, but I feel like this is the best way that I can actually say it. I heard a lot of people online complaining about Shazam. People saying they hated it and so on and so forth, but it's actually my favorite DC movie. This is coming from someone who, the only DC live action movie that they don't like is Batman vs. Superman. Yeah. So, like I say, no, it's kind of unrelated to what I'm talking about, but I like Shazam. It's a good movie. Next battle. And here we go. My favorite death battle of the whole season. Wario versus King Dede. I love this episode. This is one of my favorite death battles of all time. And, oh god, he's great. If you haven't already, yeah, if you are for some reason watching a video going over all the death battles in Season 6, and you're watching Season 6, go watch it already, because it's a great fight. The matchup, they're both fat, greedy, and see themselves as royalty. And King Dede might be the king, No, I'm pretty sure he just lives in a castle and thinks of himself as a king. And a little more correlation. Wario did steal Mario's castle, so the fight was extremely fun to watch, and I loved every second of it. It's just beautiful. And I agree with the result. I was actually expecting Mario to win, but no. King Dede did come out on top. I commend him for that. Next century. And we go from potentially one of my favorite death battles of all time to hands down my least favorite death battle of all time. Ben 10 versus Green Lantern. Going into this, I was expecting to love it. Have it potentially be my favorite death battle of them all. It featured the protagonist of not only one of my favorite series of all time, but Ben is probably one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. Right up there with Dementio, my icon, and my new favorite fictional character, Josuke Higashitaga, which I'll talk about in another video. And I think Ben is easily one of the most powerful characters in fiction. And he lost. I get the matchup. They're both humans who have powers via alien technology and are associated with the color green. The fight, other than Ben losing, I thought it was beautiful. Some of the aliens even looked hand-drawn, and I loved that. Felt that Ben was, for the most part, kind of well portrayed. But there's bias. They used a composite version of Green Lantern to make it so he could win, while only taking into account Ben as himself. They didn't use a composite version of Ben where he has the Ultimatrix, his Ultimate Ben, as Scourge, Ultra Ben Visor, and the Sword of Ascalon, because here's my stance on composite versions of characters. I know some power scalers will disagree with me, but if in a debate you want to use a composite version of a character, that's fine. Go ahead. As long as you use composite versions of all the characters participating in the fight, which is what was not used here. And even without making Ben composite, he still should have won. He's one of the most powerful characters in all of fiction. His Alien X transformation wouldn't Thanos Green Lantern away. He would blink, and Green Lantern's life would end in an instant. Plus, he just chops Ben's arm off, which wouldn't be able to work no matter what version of Ben you're using. As someone who once mixed the entirety of the original series and Omniverse within a single weekend, I know how the Omnitrix works. And you can't just cut off a Ben's arm. This video infuriated me so much that I made what I'm hoping is probably the only response I ever make after giving up commentaries. Who knows, Death Battle may goof up again. I hope they don't, considering I don't want to make videos criticizing Death Battle, because I like them. But if I was saying that I didn't have any problems with this episode, that was not my least favorite, I'd be lying. On to the next match. So here we have the next battle. Weiss versus Mitsuru. I get the connection, and I was a big fan of Ruby. I don't know, just after a while I stopped enjoying the show altogether, so I wouldn't really consider myself a fan of Ruby anymore. If you like it, that's fine, but I don't know, now I just don't find Ruby that entertaining. Since starting to watch stuff like JoJo, Rising of the Shield Hero, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Fairy Tail, My Hero, and recently finishing Kill la Kill. I just don't feel Ruby anymore. But Mitsuru, I have recently started playing Persona 3 on the PSP, so if I made this video sooner, then my opinion on this fight would be a bit different. I'm more indifferent to this battle. Wasn't the most exciting from the fight. I'm not a big fan of both characters, because Junpei Iori, best Persona character. Either that or Yuki. Or Morgana. One of those three. And though I do agree with the result. Even though I do feel that since Mitsuru's best feat was used with the help of the other members of FES, then it shouldn't, and they should divide it up to a different portion than what they did in the video, but hey, whatever. Next matchup. So next up, we got Johnny Cage versus Captain Falcon. And this is what kind of brought me back from the Dark Ages of Death battle. Because I was honestly, after Ben 10 versus Green Lantern, I was starting to double check if I was as big of a fan of Death battle as I used to be. But this battle brought me back. Even though it's not my favorite, because nothing can top Wario vs. King Dede. Terms of the season, at least. But it was a fantastic battle. I agree with the research result and stuff. I get the matchup, and the fight was so action-packed and amazing. I loved every second of it. It was just so fun to watch, and I got so invested. And after Red Dead vs. Scrambler, like I said, I was double checking if I could even trust Death Battle anymore. And I gotta appreciate you. But I gotta... Yeah, it'd be great if I could talk. I gotta give props to you guys. You dug yourself out of that hole that I sort of made for you. Their Mitsuru versus Weiss, I was starting to doubt because like I said, I'm pretty indifferent to that battle. Next fight. So, here we have another one of my favorites of the season. Aang versus Edward Elric. I thought this was a pretty darn good episode. While I don't remember much, I remember Avatar: The Last Airbender being one of my favorite anime of all time. From a child perspective. As I watched it all the time as a kid. And yes, I consider Avatar: The Last Airbender to be an anime. Not a cartoon. It's anime enough. So let me have this. And I recently, the same day actually, that Edward Elric got announced to be in Death Battle, I started watching Full Metal Alchemist. I had made plans to start watching Full Metal Alchemist no matter who was announced after Johnny Cage versus Captain Falcon. So it wasn't like, oh, they got an anime protagonist now and I'm trying to watch more anime. I should probably watch the protagonist show of whoever is announced. No, I had like a small interest in Full Metal Alchemist. It's one of the anime that I heard quite a bit about that I decided to go check out. And I enjoy Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. The day that this gets uploaded, I'm playing the binge some of it. But let's go into the fight itself. I get the matchup. I thought the fight was pretty fun. Not the same level of Wario versus Dede or Johnny Cage versus Captain Falcon, but it was still fun. And I agree with the result. I was kind of hoping that Mr. Elric was going to win, but after getting reminded of the Avatar state being a thing, I had a feeling Aang had won it. Next battle. Next up is the fight I'm a pretty big fan of. Ghost Rider versus Lobo. I get the connection, though I think Ghost Rider versus Spawn makes quite a bit more sense, but that's just me. I saw the battle. I agree with the result. I don't know why I turned into a Frenchman. As much as this is a fight that I like, there's not much for me to say on it as. I'll admit, I'm not the biggest fan of Lobo. His character never interests me, and a similar thing with Ghost Rider. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but to a lesser extent than Lobo. Next battle. Alright, so the next matchup is Dragon Zord versus Mecha Godzilla. And this is one of the few cases where I just don't care for a battle of the season, as I have absolutely no interest in Power Rangers, and I know I'm gonna get flamed for this, but I don't care. I have no interest in Godzilla. Now that I've got that off my chest, let me go over the match itself. I really don't care, but I get the connection. I agree with the result. And I do like the concept of the battle too. Robotic dinosaur dragon things going up against each other. It's a really cool concept for a battle. If only it involved characters I cared about, then I would probably be more invested in it. Next matchup. Coming up next, we have Sasuke versus Hai. I'm never gonna know how to pronounce this guy's name. And, well, this is a pretty much the same case of the last matchup for me, where I have little to no interest in both characters. I'll admit I have passing interest in Naruto. Concept of an anime about ninjas. Sorry for the cut there, but back to what I was saying. I have had a little passing interest in Naruto, thus a chance that I could get a bit more interest in Sasuke's character, as what I know about Naruto is that you got a couple of ninjas, and ninjas are awesome. With the typical anime tropes. And I, before this stuff, I've never heard of Yu Yu Hakusho, so I literally have no interest in Hai. That's how I'm gonna say his name. So I generally don't care at all about this death battle. But I sorta understand the matchup. I like the fight to an extent. I don't get that interested in death battles if I don't know either character. There's at least in some cases where I know one character I can feel a bit indifferent to it, but when I know nothing about both characters, I just don't feel much investment. And I agree with the result. Next up is Ganondorf versus Dracula, and here are my thoughts on the battle. I like it as a whole, but what is with the matchup? I sort of get why they're getting up against each other, considering they're both evil kings who command lords, armies of evil, to an extent undead with re-deads for Ganondorf, but if being a king that commands evil is what you need to go up against Dracula, put him against Dio! That would make much more sense. He commands an army. In part 1, he had an army of vampires and chimera-looking things. And, he's a vampire. Even though Dio would obviously win because time stop. It would make much more sense. Plus, I just want to see another Yo-Yo character, and not that I didn't like Yoda versus Kenshiro, because I love JoJo. So, besides that, I get why they're fighting, though I think it's a pretty minuscule reason to be able to fight Dracula. Like I said, put him up against Dio or something. Alucard from that anime with a guy called Alucard. I don't know its name. I like the fight, and of course, I agree with the result, but such a waste of opportunity. I literally thought after I saw Dracula in the next death battle teaser, I was like, is Dio gonna be his opponent? That's Ganondorf. I'm like, what? Why is he fighting Dracula? But let's not go into an angry rant. My response to Ben 10 vs. Green Lantern was a different video. So next up, we have Mob versus Tatsumaki. This is another case of a death battle that I don't really care about because I have no interest in Mob Psycho 100, and I have little to no interest in One Punch Man. I feel a little compelled to check the series out, but not overly. I get the connection. I thought the fight was pretty cool, and I agree with the result. It's not much to say for a death battle that I really don't care for. Next up, we have Deadpool versus The Mask. This fight was awesome. As Deadpool, he's appearing for the third time. I don't mind returning characters as long as they're not used all the time. For example, if Batman only appeared in every few seasons, then I don't care how many times they use him. Same with Deadpool. As long as it's not to a point where he's appearing in every other episode of every other season, it's fine with me. And despite knowing next to nothing about The Mask, how I thought it was only a bad movie until this death battle came out, but I still found the episode really fun. And to my surprise, Deadpool actually lost. Yeah, I was surprised because I've gone to my standard fare tropes to where if someone says, oh, this will get rid of him, I'm expecting the trope to be with inside the trope that, oh, it won't actually get rid of him, but it technically does. And I love this fight. But we still have one more to go through. Ladies and gentlemen, never fear, for All Might versus Might Guy is here. So, All Might versus Might Guy. Finally, my hero character is appearing in Death Battle. Personally, I would have preferred if Tenya went up against someone, as he's my favorite character, but I'm not gonna complain. And while I'm still a bit indifferent as well as I know next to nothing about Might Guy, finally All Might appears in the Death Battle. He's a good contender for one of the strongest characters in fiction. I don't think he's Superman level or anything, but he's still pretty damn powerful. And I felt that Death Battle was really fair to him in his research, as he states that he was 60 times more powerful back in the day, so they take all the feats of him, all the feats that they see that they took into account within My Hero were times by 60, and his powers weren't given a limit, to be really fair, and I like that. I really do. There's not much problem I have with it other than I don't know who Might Guy is. I get why they're fighting. I thought the fight was hilariously awesome, especially seeing the United States smash again. And I agree with the result, despite All Might losing. So they were really fair to him. And I can't say they were wrong. Death Battle, I thought you were gonna dig yourself a hole after Ben 10 versus Green Lantern, but you proved you... Well, you didn't prove yourself wrong, but you proved me wrong. But it's time for an outro. I'm excited to see what Season 7 is cooking up. And I think it's about time I do some more Death Battle speculation type of stuff. So for my next video, and well, not my next video in general, because I'm pretty sure, considering by the time this is uploaded will be the first day of my winter break, so I'll get Let's Play stuff out. But next time, in terms of the Maker videos, a video that I hinted back in the original, my thoughts on Death Battle Season 5, but I didn't actually allude to, considering I was hoping to do it later, but it appears now will be the good time. Next up is my top 10 most wanted death battles. See you guys then.